In the face of criticism, Donald Trump is better known for doubling down than backing down. Today, he did neither, but the White House was definitely on the defensive after yesterday's public display with Putin. Trump's words overseas sparked so much backlash at home that now he's trying to sell the opposite message. But who's buying? Paul Hunter is in Washington.
Of all the possible retorts to the fierce criticism faced by Trump for what's been called his shameful, disgraceful, treasonous stance with Russia's Vladimir Putin, few expected this.
I realize that there is a need for some clarification.
Today in the White House, Trump's comeback, he misspoke. To recap, yesterday on the world stage in Helsinki, when asked, with Putin at his side about Russia's meddling in the 2016 U.S. election, Trump inexplicably sided not with U.S. intelligence, but with Putin.
He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
It set off a firestorm on Capitol Hill, mixing ridicule with fury, even among Republicans.
If it weren't so insulting, it would be kind of a joke.
But then, fully 24 hours after that news conference,
I actually went out and reviewed a clip of an answer that I gave.
Trump said he saw the transcript and had a realization.
In a key sentence in my remarks, I said the word would instead of wouldn't. The sentence should have been, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't, or why it wouldn't be Russia. So, just to repeat it, I said the word would instead of wouldn't.
But it's not exactly nuance. It's precisely the opposite of how he put it with Putin. Today, Trump went on to say he has faith in the U.S. intelligence system, that he accepts Russia meddled in the election, though still saying it could have been others. Adding, yet again, the Trump campaign had nothing to do with it regardless.
There was no collusion.
Think that's not a key point for him even on this day? Check the handwriting on his otherwise carefully printed notes. No collusion, it emphasizes. As for what he called his clarification, say Democrats.
President Trump tried to squirm away from what he said yesterday. It's 24 hours too late and in the wrong place.
If he wanted to make those comments, he should have had the strength to make them in front of Vladimir Putin.
And there's still the matter of what specifically did Trump and Putin talk about behind closed doors. Today, Trump listed some of the topics but gave few details. Democrats now want congressional hearings to force answers. Ian.
Paul, last night you told us about how even staffers in the White House were taken aback by Trump's comments in Helsinki. What about tonight?
You know, it almost feels out of control. Vanity Fair is reporting tonight that Trump's chief of staff, John Kelly, was so furious about Trump's remarks in Helsinki and so helpless to pressure Trump on his own into retracting them that Kelly himself contacted Republicans on Capitol Hill, giving them permission to publicly slam Trump on this. And when that happened, Trump caved. It's come to that. All the reports within the West Wing suggest the place is a wreck. And beyond minor victories like Trump's backtrack today, no one has the fix for it. Ian.
Thanks, Paul. Well, for some analysis of the last 48 hours, let's bring in someone who knows Washington well. Conservative commentator and former speechwriter for George W. Bush, David Frum, currently a senior editor at The Atlantic. Now, David, you wrote an article yesterday where you raised the possibility, especially based on that news conference yesterday with the two presidents, that it seemed like Putin had some kind of hold, some kind of sway over Donald Trump. Now given President Trump's change of heart or clarification today, do you feel the same way?
Well, President Trump today read a script that he's read at various times in the past, in which he, with the words in front of him, said, I endorse what all the intelligence agencies unanimously say, that the Russians did interfere in the 2016 election. He never is able to adhere to that script for very long, and for a good reason. Because if he acknowledges that the Russians interfered, it opens the way to the next question. Did that interference make a difference? Remember how close this election was, that it was decided by tens of thousands of votes in just 3 states. Consider how large the Russian effort was, how industrial it was. Consider how much more we are learning about it all the time, and consider how still uncertain we are about exactly the connection between the Donald Trump campaign and the Russians. We know they were willing to accept Russian help. That's what Donald Trump Jr. took a meeting explicitly on that subject. So Donald Trump understands most of the time that once he admits the Russians intervened to help him, the next question will be, how much difference did it make?
But this notion that Putin may have something on Donald Trump, there are many Americans who would be quick to embrace that theory, others who would sit back and say, it sounds a bit like a conspiracy theory. In your article, you make a passing reference to, you know, could it be bribery? Could it be blackmail? So let me ask you directly, what do you think it is?
When you move a magnet under a desk and we notice the iron filings move, you don't have to understand how magnetism works to notice that the two things are moving in tandem. I don't speculate what the nature of the hold that President Putin has over Donald Trump. I assume someday we will find out if it even exists. But what you can see is that Donald Trump consistently behaves in ways consistent with President Putin having a hold over him. And by the way, that is something that has been remarked by former directors of the CIA, former national intelligence directors, other senior intelligence officials who all have said, this looks like a hold. We don't know it, but we see the behaviors.
We have about 30 seconds left. 24 hours ago, people were talking about the White House and maybe even the Republican Party being in crisis. Given this correction by President Trump, is that the case tonight?
Crisis is the wrong word. It's a slow crumbling of the ground under their feet, because there is going to be more exploration of what the connections were. The last round of indictments from Special Counsel Robert Mueller showed that the Russians had stolen, had not just placed ads, but they stole crucial information that belonged to the Democratic Party. What happened to that information? That's going to be a very important question.
David Frum, really nice speaking with you.
Thank you, Aaron.
So as we heard, a Washington insider concerned about the state of the Republican Party. And over the last 36 hours, we've heard lots of outrage, lots of strong language over Trump and Russia. But we wondered how this story is playing with Americans outside of D.C. We went to Maryland to find out.
So he's landed back in the United States, and he said now he accepts that the intelligence community found that Russian meddling did occur, and that he misspoke. He said he made a mistake.
I give him credit for admitting he was wrong.
The problem isn't Russia interfering with the American elections. America interferes with every election in the world, first of all. It's normal practice for other governments to meddle in elections for their benefit. It's nothing.
You don't fly over to Helsinki to shout insults at somebody. Okay, you don't fly over there to call the man a liar. You're trying to build a relationship. What, you know?
Everybody's always focused on the Russia thing. Is it an important issue? Yes. But is this what 80% of Americans are focused on right now? No. People are trying to get by.